Do it after the roll call.
Okay.
All right, we got everybody coming in. I'm gonna.
Yeah, Dan. I got
Yeah.
in.
Nice.
What should
I'm
be
gonna,
the wording for the chairman? Just how do I start that?
I'll just
That's-
say that for this evening, you're asking for another commissioner to chair the meeting, and you're gonna take nominations and then vote.
Okay.
Okay.
If Shane's there, we won't have to do this, right? Sean, I mean, sorry.
Oh, Sean, yeah, Sean, if, he'll just have to join us when he is able to
Okay.
come into the meeting.
All right.
So your options are Art and Mark.
I
They're
vote
great,
for,
they're great options.
I vote for Mark.
Well, let's
I know.
I guess
Sorry,
that's
yeah.
a given then, right, Mark? Mark, you're okay with that, right?
I jumped
I'll
the gun,
take it,
Heather.
Cal, it's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Mark, you'll be okay with that?
Yes, Cal.
All right, I appreciate that.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, thanks. You made it easy.
made it easy. Oh, yeah, we need to be nice to Cal tonight. So Cal, do you want to go ahead and open the meeting with the,
Yeah, I should do that. Okay. I would like to call.
Sean's here.
Oh, Sean's
Ooh.
here.
Oh, great.
All
Oh,
right,
that
let's
makes
see.
that void. Nice.
Where are you? There we go.
so as a technicality, I think Cal, you'll still need to open the meeting and so that you can have Sean
Okay.
take
Lem-
over as
Okay.
chair for this evening.
Okay. I would like to call to order Airway Heights Planning Commissioners meeting for November the 12th, 2020 at 6 p.m. I would like to ask Shane Fell to take over the meeting today. I will not be able to conduct as a chairperson.
Okay, how can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, so go ahead and we'll call roll. Sal Patel,
Present.
I'm present. Commissioner Art Bub
Here.
and Commissioner Collins,
Here.
all present. Do we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance on the Zoom meetings, or do we skip that, or how does that work with the thing online?
That is your discretion. If you would like to do Pledge of Allegiance, Cal has been doing Pledge of Allegiance in the other meetings.
Okay, I guess we can go ahead and do it. So just I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
To the-
to the
To the
flag
flag
Of
of the United States,
States.
America,
To the republic.
to the republic which stands one nation,
nation,
under
God,
God, indivisible,
Indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty and justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
So
Well done.
it's just kind of weird with the Zoom meeting. All right. All right. So I guess we need an approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. So a motion to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Heather, there's the amendment to the agenda on there.
Okay. Thank you. We did have one modification to the agenda, and that is that under item number 11B, Kalispell Tribe, we did not receive a copy of the proposed development agreement, and so we are not able to go forward with the workshop this evening.
So do we just delete B from the agenda?
It would be item 11B. We could have you take a motion to remove that from the agenda for tonight.
I would so move to remove that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll need to approve the minutes from our meeting from, I don't have my calendar in front of me.
I would so move. I reviewed them.
I'll second it.
That's October 14th, I believe. All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So come to our public comment period. I don't know, this public comment would be anything unrelated to the public hearings, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, do we have anyone online with us tonight who would like to make a public comment that is not in, that is not going along with one of the public hearings we're having in a few minutes?
Please identify in the chat, please, if you can.
I'm not up.
Um,
I think you're good.
Miss-
Sean.
Okay, so having no one here for additional public comments, we'll go ahead and move on. Are there any presentations? I don't see any on the agenda, but okay. Hearing no presentations, we'll go ahead and move on to public hearings. We'll go ahead and start with A on the agenda, Hunters Crossing preliminary plat. Looks like it's Zach, you have that one for.
Yeah. Rick says he has comments on Hunter's Crossing. Heather, do we want to wait till we open the hearing for that?
Yes, the public comment is for those who might just want to come speak to the Plan Commission about other matters related to the community or land use, or suggest a topic area that the Plan Commission should consider in the future. So for the Hunters Crossing application, which we have a hearing for tonight, there will be an order to that hearing, which will provide an opportunity for the applicant and the applicant's representative to present all of their information on the record this evening.
I'm getting my screen ready. If you give me just one moment. And
Just Mr. Fell as the chair, can you please open the public hearing for the Hunters Crossing North First Edition preliminary plat application?
Okay, I guess that will open the public hearing for Hunters Crossing preliminary plat at 6:08.
Thank you.
okay, does that look okay to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this presentation is going to provide a brief summary of the project, where I'm also going to provide a process timeline and outline the recommended conditions of approval. If you are wondering about any additional analysis by staff, all of that is provided within the staff report, which was within your packet. If you didn't receive one, we can definitely get that for you. So,
Zach, can I just add here for just a moment?
sure.
In the hearing tonight, as with all hearings on a project application, there'll be a staff presentation, which will include the report, the application materials, recommendations on the application. That will be followed by a presentation by the applicant and the applicant's representative. Following that will be an open opportunity for public comment. So if we have any members of the public that are in for this evening, after the applicant is presented, the Plan Commission will be taking all comment. If the Plan Commission desires to do so, at the end of the general public comment, they may choose to close the public comment and begin deliberations of the Plan Commission. As a reminder, Plan Commission is an advisory body to the City Council, so they would be discussing an application and making recommendations to the City Council, and the application would be moving on to the City Council with whatever recommendation that the Plan Commission would make. So with that, I'll turn that back over to Zach to begin the staff presentation.
Okay, so for Hunters Crossing, for the first phase. This is just a brief overview of the location. Boris Craig Road to the west, Airway Heights municipal boundary to the north. It is zoned R1 single family residential. It is currently vacant. The surrounding zoning is predominantly residential. Adjacent parcels to the east are zoned R3 multifamily, while the adjacent parcels to the west are zoned R1 single family. Parcels south are also zoned R2 duplex. Comprehensive land use designation is single family residential. Adjacent land uses surrounding the site include open space and recreation, which is the ORV park to the northeast, and a mix of high density, medium density, and single family residential to the south and the west. So this is the plat and the surrounding developments. The proposed Airleaf townhomes is located directly to the south, adjacent to the proposed future school to the west, which is in the northwest corner there. Highland Village is located to the east. So this is the plat. It is 85 lots, all single family homes on 23 acres of currently vacant land. The plat identifies the typical home size to be 7,200 square feet with 60 feet of street frontage. Both of these are minimum standards for the R1 zone. The proposed density is 3.84 units per acre, which is within the range of the lower density for the comp plan, which is up to 5 units per acre. The traffic study that was accompanied the plat had traffic generation at 803 average daily trips, 65 a.m. peak hour trips, and 85 p.m. peak hour trips.
Zach, I have a question.
Sure.
I think I heard you say the houses were approximately 7,200 square feet. Did you mean the lot size?
The lots, yes, I apologize.
Okay, all right, good. I thought so, because otherwise, those are great houses.
Yeah. Putting in some it's a big single family home down there.
Yeah.
7,200 feet is the minimum lot for square.
Thank you.
lot.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, I thought so, but I just,
For sure.
no problem.
Okay. So I wanted to remind the commission of what their kind of position is before we get into some of these plat conditions. So these are outlined in Airway Heights Municipal Code 14.05.03B. And as a planning commission member, your job is to identify whether the development is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the requirements and intents of the development zone, of the development code, excuse me. That the development makes adequate provisions for open space, drainage ways, streets, and other public ways, transit stops, water supply, sanitary waste, park and recreation facilities, playground sites for schools and school grounds, and other public utilities. That the development adequately mitigates adverse environmental impacts identified during environmental review. That the development is not harmful to the public health, safety, and welfare, and is within the public interest. The development does not lower the level of service of transportation and or neighborhood park facilities below the minimum standards established within the comprehensive plan. Yeah, so I'm not going to read that whole thing, but that's about concurrent transportation concurrency. The area, location, and features of the land proposed for dedication are a direct result of the development proposal, are reasonably needed to mitigate the effects of the development, and are proportional to the impacts created by the development. So, as planning commission members, your position is to identify whether the plat meets all of these requirements for your findings.
When do we have question time?
This is gonna be a fairly long presentation, Art. So what I'm gonna do, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Once we get into the plat conditions, we're gonna kind of go through those one by one. And if you guys have questions, just, shoot.
Great.
Okay, so the process timeline for this letter of acknowledgement for a complete application was sent to the applicant on July 30th. A public presentation was given to the Planning Commission on August 12th. The notice of development application, SEPA determination, was sent out on August 13th. Those also ran in the Cheney Free Press, as well as sent to agencies, all in and around August 13th. Mitigation determination of non-significance, which is the SEPA determination, was issued on October 26th. That was also sent out on October 26th, with the exception of The department and agencies got it a day later. We had a technical error that delayed it a day, so we extended the timeline an extra day for agencies, but that timeline is now over. We did receive 3 comments on the SEPA and DNS. The first comment was received on the 29th of October, and it came from the Spokane Tribe of Indians. They requested a cultural survey be completed by a professional archaeologist on the site before any ground was broken. Since this was, the comment was made so late in the process, it was not on the initial SEPA, it was on the determination. I discussed with Randy Abramson, who was the representative from the Spokane Tribe, and made the comment and asked him whether he would be willing to not have it be a SEPA comment and have it be a plat condition. So essentially we would not have to recirculate the SEPA, and he agreed. So you will see that comment on the conditions of approval as we go through them. The second comment that we had was received on the 9th of November. That was a comment from the Department of Ecology. That comment had to do with stormwater retention during construction. It's a pretty standard comment, not necessarily anything we're worried about. It's an optional comment. So, and the third comment was received on the 10th, and it was from the Airway Heights Fire Department. I believe this is something we do have a representative from the fire department. Dick Henry is here in the meeting tonight, so if you do have questions, he is available. The fire department made additional comments requesting mitigation for increased response times in the form of sprinklers for all new construction, residential included, or higher fire ratings for all new constructions in Airway Heights. So for the SEPA mitigated determination of non-significance, there were two requirements that were made by the city. The first one had to do with traffic mitigation. It was for the Craig Road US Highway 2 intersection. And for Hunter's Crossing, the applicant will be required to provide a transportation impact fee for $1,164.34 per dwelling unit. That made the total traffic impact fee out to be $98,968.90 for all 85. The transportation impact fee will be paid at the time of building permits. Essentially, so this is known, this was the second piece here, since this is the first phase of Hunter's Crossing and there are additional phases of development for SEPA, we wanted to make sure that the cumulative impact on transportation was taken into account. So additional acreage is proposed to be developed for Hunter's Crossing with 4 more phases identified at the time of the application for any portion of the remainder of the 63 acres proposed in the Hunter's Crossing development. A transportation impact analysis is required for the full acreage, including the 23 acres in the Hunter's Crossing first edition. In order to access the cumulative, should be assessed, sorry, the cumulative impacts of the vehicle trips, City of Airway Heights will require transportation mitigation of the cumulative impacts of the project as a whole. Mitigation for this project will likely include transportation impact fees and roadway improvements. The study should be prepared to stand by a qualified traffic engineer. And then the second requirement from the SEPA is for Fairchild Air Force Base, and it is to submit a dark sky lighting plan to make sure that the lighting going into the development is not affecting the air traffic from Fairchild, and also navigation easement, which also is related to the Fairchild traffic. Okay, so we're going to start. There are, this is going to be the bulk of the presentation. We're going to go through them one by one. If you have questions, please ask. I'm here, Heather's here, other staff are available. Bill White, I believe, is here, and Nick Henry as well. Kevin is also here. So if you have questions, they might be able to speak to some of these better than I can. This is a combination of conditions that were made by the planning department, but also public works, also fire, and who am I missing? I'm missing somebody, one other department. So planning staff has reviewed the proposed project and recommended that the planning commission recommended the city council the approval of the proposed Hunter's Crossing with the following conditions. First condition being development should adhere to plans, drawing, illustrations, and or specifics on file with the planning and public works department. 2, all lots shall meet the minimum lot size frontage on a public street, setback, height limitations, and parking requirements of the R1 single family zone. 3, the applicant shall file for final plat approval and must follow the requirements of Airway Heights Municipal Code 1604 within 5 years of the preliminary plat approval. 4, if dry wells are utilized, they will need to be tested to ensure design infiltration rates are met. A minimum factor of safety of 2.5 will be required. In accordance with state law, existing and proposed underground injection control structures need to be registered with Washington State Department of Ecology. Proof of registration must be provided prior to the closeout of the civil plans. 5, construction plans for sanitary sewer, water, street, and stormwater improvements must be designed by a professional engineer licensed in the state of Washington and submit to Planning and Public Works for review and acceptance prior to construction. 5 had some subcategories. A, all sanitary sewer, water, street, and stormwater improvements within the plat will be public. B, plan review fees for sanitary sewer, water, street, and stormwater improvements will be determined at the time of plan submittal and will be paid prior to permit issuance. C, individual water and sewer service connections to each lot shall be constructed and accepted prior to the paving of the street and the issuance of any certificate of occupancy on the structures of the plat. D, frontage improvements on all streets will be required to serve this plat, including curb, landscaping, sidewalks, and paving. Plans for these improvements may be submitted to and accepted by Public Works prior to the city engineer signing the final plat. E, the minimum curb radius for the cul-de-sac bulb shall be 50 feet for industrial streets, 45 for commercial and residential streets, or 47 with the island radius of 17 feet. This plat may be subject to general facilities charges. Do you guys have any questions?
I do not. Yep, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. I just wanted to get some water real quick. All right. 6, the water shall be designed and constructed in accordance with city standards. A pressure of 20 PSI, a residual of 750 GPM, minimum flow for a period of 45 minutes at the property line is required for service connections supplying domestic flows. Pressure shall not drop below 20 PSI at any point in the system during a fire situation. Pressures over 80 PSI will require pressure relief valves to be installed at developer's expense. An updated hydraulic analysis depicting the final system is required and must include supporting calculations for domestic and fire flows. 8, the developer will be responsible for all costs associated with construction of all sanitary sewers, lift stations, water, street, and stormwater improvements necessary to serve the proposed plat. Sanitary sewer and water mains include service connections to property lines shall be constructed and inspected to the city standards prior to the city engineer signing the final plat. In accordance with the city's financial guarantee policy, a financial guarantee will be required for all streets and stormwater improvements not constructed prior to approval of the final plat. And 10, civil engineer plans and profiles shall be in the D88 data. So a lot of this is the public works comments. 11, all stormwater and surface drainage generated on site shall be disposed of on site in accordance with public works standards. 3.10 storm drainage, the Spokane Regional Stormwater Manual, and per the project engineer's recommendations. A, prior to construction, a grading and drainage plan shall be submitted to Public Works for review and acceptance. B, a temporary erosion/sediment control plan detailing how dust and runoff will be handled during and after construction shall be submitted to Public Works to civil plans for review and acceptance prior to construction. C, no building permit shall be issued for any lot in the plat until the evidence satisfactory of the city engineer will be provided showing that the recommendations of Public Works 3.10, storm drainage, the Spokane Regional Stormwater Manual, and the project's engineer's recommendations have been compiled. A surface drainage plan shall be prepared for each lot and shall be submitted to Public Works for review and acceptance prior to issuance of building permit. D, the development of any below-grade structures, including basements in the plat, is subject to review of a geotechnical elevation for foundation design to determine suitability and effects from stormwater and or subsurface runoff. The geotechnical elevation is required to be performed for is required to be performed for each lot with below-grade structures and submitted for review and concurrence to the Public Works Department prior to issuance of the building permit. An overall geotechnical analysis may be performed in lieu of an individual lot analysis to determine appropriate construction design. Any questions on those?
No.
No.
12, all easements for existing or future access to utilities must be shown on the face of the plat. 13, addresses must be shown on the face of the final plat. Addresses will need to be applied for prior to side sewer service and water service permits. 14, garages shall be a minimum of 20 feet from the back of the sidewalk to fully accommodate a parking vehicle without obstructing the sidewalk. 15, all street identification and traffic control signs required due to the project must be installed by the developer at the time that the street improvements are being constructed. They should be installed and inspected to the satisfaction of the city's public works department in accordance with public works standards prior to the occupancy of any structures within the plat. 16, public streets including paving, curbs, sidewalks, signs, storm drainage structures, facilities, and swales / planting strips necessary to serve the proposed plat shall be designed and constructed in accordance with the city standards. Sidewalks shall serve each lot. 17, signing and striping plans where appropriate shall be included as part of the design submittal. 18, street designs for the plat shall include supporting geotechnical information on the adequacy of the soils and support vehicular design loads. 19, all parking areas and driveways shall be hard surfaced. Okay. Sorry about that. 20, streets must be designed in accordance with Public Works Standards 2B020. If some sections of the roadway are desired to be narrower than the required 40-foot width, then a variance will be required, which may require limiting parking to one side. 21, there may be a 10-foot wide utility easement running along and adjoining the front of all lots as they have frontage to the public roads. 22, any proposed deviations from the standards shall be sought in writing, justified, and may be approved by the city council. The proposal must meet all city standards, including these for plats. So 23 is actually a set of statements that are going to be included on the for the dedication language. I'm not going to go through it, but if you want, it's available in your staff report. It's essentially just specific language for all the dedications for public right of way. And it is very long. Okay, so 22, the City of Airway Heights Fire Department provided the following conditions of the plat. A second built access on the public street, which is dedicated and built prior to finalizing the plat with 30 or more lots. B, cul-de-sacs or hammerheads, turnarounds are required for any roadway which are not completed and connected to the street network at the time of final plat. Cul-de-sacs or hammerhead turnarounds will be needed to comply with the fire code for adequate turning radii and width, and will require temporary easements on the final plat. C, addressing must be visible from road facing the front door per IFC section 505. D, a fire hydrant must be provided within 400 feet of any portion of a building by approved fire route, IFC section 507.5.
Okay, I have a question here.
Sure.
When do we address the memo from the fire department about their response times in lieu of requiring sprinklers in the buildings?
Heather, can we do that at any point? I know that's going to come up in Storehawk's presentation. So.
I can wait then. That's fine. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Typically during a staff presentation, there is the staff presenting the project, and then additional staff can speak and answer questions throughout this process. So this is a really good time to address this. Nick Henry, the fire marshal, is here with us tonight. The conditions that you see in the staff report were comments that were submitted to the planning department as part of the circulation of the application. And these requirements are based on code with regards to the roadway, secondary access in and out of the subdivision, as well as the addressing, etc. The fire department has submitted additional comments related to response time, and that has to do with our adopted level of service standard in the comprehensive plan. So Nick, do you want to go ahead and speak to the recommendation of the November 11th letter? I can see that Nick's there.
Yeah, he's normally on the phone. I'm asking whoever's on the phone to unmute to see if
Nick commented, am I muted?
Hey, did it work? Am I
there you
there
go.
now?
Yeah, you're good. Sorry, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
It finally said hit star 6, so I'm in, guys.
All right.
Okay. So Heather, is that the one regarding excess or requesting sprinklers?
The one requesting sprinklers or fire resistant construction.
Okay. Yep. I'll be brief on that, guys. I'll give you a quick, brief 2-minute history and the reasoning behind it. We can't require it, but the reason we're requesting it is due to several reasons. So in the last 8 years, we've gone from around 1,000 calls a year, and we've doubled that. We'll be over 2,000 emergency calls per year, and that's due to the growth in Airway Heights, and that is increasing our response times significantly. We're nearing the 5-minute mark, like Heather was talking about, and we find that, especially depending on the emergency, seconds do count. So we're trying to figure out ways to keep damage and life safe while we increase what we're doing. So our growth is still going up, our times are still going up. We have one station that is staffed 24 hours a day, but they're being heavily used, and also multiple calls are coming in at the same time. We have a great partner in District 10 who can back us up, but with their growth, we're finding that in some cases they are tied up also. We saw that this year on the 2 large fires that occurred just outside Airway Heights. District 10 emptied all their resources, and we helped on that also. When that happens, our citizens in our community are vulnerable. So we're trying to figure out ways to balance it. And one of those is in the future is looking at sprinkler systems. Studies have shown that this new construction that we use for housing, which is great for cost and it's strong, but it burns a lot faster. All our new furniture burns a lot faster and a lot hotter. So we don't have the time we used to for the houses. With sprinklers, we're typically using about 10 times less water, which is great for the structure. Also, 80% of civilian deaths occur in home fires, residential home fires, but with sprinkler systems, 81% survival rate, or 81% more people survive in those. So it's a safety thing because it does contain it to one room. So that's a little bit of the history behind it. If we can reduce the amount of damage for, say, a vacant home or a home in the middle of the night, it lets us get there, lets us get set up, and lets us get in and get that fire controlled with, creating less damage and life safety. That's why we're looking long-term to recommend or see if there's a way we can start to fit sprinkler systems into these homes to give us more time, because as we grow, which is great for Airway Heights, but it really taxes what the fire department is able to do, and our focus is life safety and incident stabilization. So that's a real brief history of where we're coming from, and I'm open for questions.
I would think that an additional benefit, which we can't quote it for certain, but I would be willing to bet homeowners insurance would be also impacted by the use of sprinklers in a positive way.
I would tend to agree with that. I don't have a study that shows that, but I could always research that for anyone if they would like me to look into that.
So who would maintain the sprinkler system, not necessarily in the house, but outside, the standpipe and everything?
That is one I am not sure of on the exterior, because water would come into the house and they would have the actuator in there. It would likely be a fire protection agency like Spanish Fire or Fire Protection here in town. And it probably would require an annual service because they do require that to maintain their functionality.
So that's what I would be curious to know, who's going to actually do that, because if they're in the houses and required, what's the use of them if it's never maintained and they don't work? Especially if it's
just
not.
like smoke. Yeah.
The other question I would like to know is, is Spokane County Fire Department looking at this in the sense of expanding out here? If your guys' response time is getting that long because the calls are just increasing, when does that threshold require a new station in Airway
Good
Heights?
point. Yep. Good point.
As a fire marshal, I'm not privy to that information. That would be more of our chief question. And I'm not sure what the metrics are for that, or if we even have those metrics set up. A lot of it, not only is it required, it may be required, but it's also a budgeting issue. Honestly, if we don't have the money to build a new station or an additional station or staff it, we are limited on that also. And, with taxpayers, they can only afford so much, and we can only get so much out of the system, and we maintain our budget as best we can. So I can't give a firm answer on that. I think that's a little bit above my level.
Do you all have a mutual aid agreement with the Air Force Base?
We have a mutual aid agreement with all the facilities around us, Air Force Base, District 10, and District 3.
Right.
Depending on the size of the incident.
Thank you.
You bet.
My question would be is how the fire department is funded.
I'm sorry, Jamie, right now the questions are for the Plan Commission. We'll be able to switch over to public comment after the presentations. Let me just help with everyone, because this is probably a new experience for several people. I think the last time that we had a preliminary plat was probably almost 3 years ago in Airway Heights. So the Plan Commission is hearing testimony on the application, and after the staff provide information on the application, and after the applicant has a chance to provide a presentation, the applicant's group can also ask questions of the staff, and then we'll have public comment, which will allow for members to provide testimony about the application and request the Plan Commission of clarifying questions. And then the Plan Commission chair, in this case, Mr. Fell, could decide to direct that question to one of the staff or just take it as testimony for tonight's hearing. So I apologize for not providing a little bit more detail for everyone on the process, but we will certainly, and I saw that Ms. Kowalski had another couple of questions beforehand, so we'll work on those before we get to the public comment period.
This is Cal. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Cal.
The question is that I personally think the idea of making the houses more fire resistant is a great idea, but the question is that this is not a requirement by any particular rules. And as number two is that if we decide to advise to use this for this particular plate, does that become rule for the new houses in Airway Heights?
That's a really good question. The answer, which Nick, if he's on the line, would be able to address with regards to the code. I can answer questions about, I think your second part of your question is whether you're setting a standard or an expectation.
Right.
In the case of if a project goes forward with this kind of requirement.
Right, Heather, and I can take it from there. So it is not required at this time for single-family residential homes. This is a recommendation, and this is something we hope we can figure out a way to work it into future expansion and future growth as time goes on. And again, we focus mostly on the life safety aspect, but the side effects are also the property conservation. We can limit these fires to one room instead of the whole house, especially, like I say, at night, or if someone's on vacation, or even if a wildland fire comes in. If we can put water inside the house as well as outside, we can limit the amount of damage and save lives. So it's a recommendation at this time. We can't make any of it happen. I'm not sure what will happen over time or what will be adopted, but we're just looking at options to try and make these residences and more viable for people. and as well as firefighter protection too. There's 80% less
Right.
firefighter injury homes that are sprinklered. Yeah. So that's the long story.
And I would think perhaps a recommendation from Planning Commission, because we're only recommenders, but a recommendation from us to City Council, because future building is coming. We know that. That's what the city is gearing up for. And I think that's a conversation that really needs to be had, including the one that Mark mentioned. Conversation needs to be had somewhere about future fire stations. It's got to happen with people.
There's also the implications if it becomes code, the water pressure itself. How do we make sure that we have the water to set these sprinklers off? I mean, if everyone has it now and there is a wildland fire or something coming through, I can only imagine the amount of water being pushed out at that moment.
If I can answer a couple of these questions, the first unanswered question Mr. Bub asked was about precedent. So if a project were to be required to put in a sprinkler system, or the fire department has provided an alternative, which is called fire resistive construction, it could set a precedent, but it's a lot about consistency. So the basis of this recommendation has to do with the city's adopted level of service. So as Nick Henry had mentioned, the city has adopted a service expectation to our public to respond to a fire in 5 minutes or less. And I believe it's 80% of all calls. And the fire department, and the fire department in this letter has indicated that they have a concern that they're approaching that threshold with the location of this development. And that would be the same standard for consistency that would be applied to any other project, which is, where is that project located? Would the response time be similar or different? And would it be able to be within the 5 minutes, 80% of the time that's been adopted as part of our plan? So consistently, if we found that a project was near that threshold or over, the city should be considering similar types of mitigation in order to address response time for, in this case, fire for a site. The next question that I think was brought up by a commissioner had to do with the process around residential sprinklers as a code. The state of Washington did not adopt an optional chapter with regards to mandatory residential sprinklers. They left it up to each individual jurisdiction if they wanted to go through a public process and to decide if they wanted to adopt that additional code. That code has been applied in other communities in Washington state, but it's not required. And just a little bit of background, we have a state board that reviews the codes and identifies and adopts those codes on a periodic basis. And when they do, that applies to almost every jurisdiction automatically in the state for the mandatory chapters. The examples you've heard before are the International Commercial Code, the plumbing code, the fire code, residential code, etc. So there is a process by which separately the city could go through to adopt a building standard to require sprinklers in residential buildings. And then with regards to the question about sprinkler systems and pressure, those codes, and correct me if I'm in off spot here, Nick, but those codes are not retroactive. So if a residential sprinkler system, thank you, Nick, was adopted, it would only apply to any new construction, and it would be part of the design by the project engineer to make sure that there's adequate pipe size for water lines to the development and adequate pipe size to the houses in order to serve both their normal daily use and for the sprinklers. But I think that Nick testified a little bit earlier that sprinkler systems have a very low demand on water flow. Is that correct, Nick?
They do. It's usually only one room at a time. You know, I know there was a concern a minute ago if there were several houses on fire, what it would do to water pressure. We would also work with all of our citizens in this community. We're doing pretty good on this, of keeping a green area around. So if we do get a wildland fire, we don't have the heavy ponderosa pines that are surrounding the houses that increase the fire size and speed. And we work well with DNR in that and the other agencies that have air support. And if we knew that we were going to lose a neighborhood, we would call in an airstrike to drop down a retardant line, which would help our firefighters, basically draw a line at that corner and say, okay, this is where we're going to stop this fire. So that would reduce the amount of homes that would need to have any water supply during a fire. If that assists with the question on water flow.
Art, you're muted.
Oh, I am.
No, it was me. I was just saying it was an excellent answer. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Are there any additional questions about the fire department letter that was submitted and the conditions in the staff report? Okay.
Well, could we hear about the other option, the materials instead of a sprinkler system? What is that option entailing?
That option is put in there more for like a duplex or a townhome or a fourplex, to where if one unit is, again, it's vacant or it's nighttime or it's during the workday and it catches, it will increase the amount of time to break through a firewall so we can save more of the building. For single family standalone homes, especially in lot size this size, if we're there, by the time we get there, if it is beginning to get fully involved, we would work on protecting the exposures on both sides. So the fire rating is really more for, say a duplex or higher, as another option. A single family residential, you can try and put exterior walls that are more fire resistant, but again, it's a single family home. It's not a conflagrate very quickly to another house. Hopefully not within 5 minutes. So.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, bet.
With that,
Heather, I have one more question. I just want a little bit of clarification. So if as planning commissioner, we approve this fire recommendation that the fire department is suggesting, looking at the other side from a developer's point of view, they're going to come back and say, hey, this is going to raise our cost pretty high for the development that they probably didn't consider before. How does that put the whole scenario in, even though we recommend? They have to do it then, right?
so the purpose of tonight's hearing is to hear all information, including from the applicant and the public, about this proposal, deliberate, and make a recommendation to the city council. And you would make a recommendation to, approve the proposal. You could recommend denial of the proposal, and you can recommend, if it were with approval, any conditions that the plan that you felt were appropriate to the application, and those will move forward as a package for consideration of the city council, and the city council will make the final decision about the preliminary plat. The applicant still has an opportunity tonight to present information. I'm positive that they will respond to the letter from the fire department and provide additional information, and you also have a chance to ask the applicant and their representative questions as well about this issue on fire, including potentially cost or impacts of the recommendation about fire sprinklers or other methods to address level of service impacts potentially.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the clarification.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just ask me anywhere along the lines where you have.
That's good guidance. I think sometimes we need guidance, so thank you for that.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. Let's see. Were there other fire questions from the Plan Commission before Zach moves on and then to the conditions? And we're going to swing around just for the whole audience to the criteria and to the recommended findings related to those criteria for the Plan Commission to consider. And then with Mr. Fell as chair tonight's indulgence, any further questions the commission has, and then respectfully moving it over to the applicant's opportunity to respond tonight and provide their presentation.
I don't have any more questions.
I don't either.
I'm good on fire.
Okay, the last thing I have to present tonight is just this last comment from the Spokane tribe, which we touched on earlier, and then I'm gonna see if any other staff members have anything to add to the presentation. So Spokane Tribe Vinny has provided the following conditions of the plat: cultural survey and subsurface testing and all ground disturbing activities required prior to any permits or development of the site. If any artifacts or human remains are found upon excavation activities, Spokane Tribe City Planning Department are to be notified and the immediate activity cease. So that was the last piece we have for that. Get back here. I'm gonna pull up the staff report real quick. Heather, do you or anyone else have anything to add on that presentation?
Yeah, if you could bring up the plat design. I just wanted to verbally go through the criteria quickly with the Plan Commission. Everything's on record. It's in the staff report. The Plan Commission has received the staff report as well as all the attachments. The applicant received these as well, and I believe that they'll be speaking to the staff report, but we have some members of the public here tonight too, so it may be helpful to show them the staff report and just go through the criteria and have the map up.
Let me get that.
So while Zach's pulling that up, one of the recommended conditions was to submit a final plat consistent with the plans on file with the planning department.
Sorry, that was.
And absolutely. Zoom is our life. So this property is single family zoned. It's allows for detached single family housing. The drawing that was included is showing that they're doing lots that meet our minimum lot size. They are single family homes that are proposed for this, and that the conditions that were recommended having to do with things like lot width have been met in this application, and other items like setback and building height would actually be applied later at the time of building permit. So in that sense, there has been analysis of the single family zoning, the consistency of the plat. I should note very quickly that this is proposed to be finalized in 3 phases. What a final plat is that they bring in a final drawing by a surveyor that meets all of these requirements, and it becomes signed by the appropriate city agencies and the county agencies, and then it's recorded, and at that point those lots are created. Do you want to add anything about the analysis of the R1 development standards or the comprehensive plan?
I don't know. I touched on it a little bit in the beginning of the presentation. Yeah, I think you covered it.
Okay. So the remainder of the staff report includes the analysis that was prepared as far as the consistency of this project with our development standards, the zoning, the comprehensive plan, looking at the impacts both environmentally and to the built environment, which is where the SEPA MDNS is related to this project. Can you pull up the drawing of the plat for a moment, Zach? I just want to swing back around to an important comment in the conditions by both Public Works and the Fire Department. Here's the phasing, here's the plat. The recommendation is that there actually are 2 outlets to this proposal during the first phase of development. The code requires when 30 lots or more are proposed for a final plat that there should be 2 development points of public access streets so that there can be emergency response to those lots. This is a better view of it. Thank you, Zach. And so the applicant was proposing that First Avenue meeting up with Craig Road to the west would not be developed until phase 3. The comments from Public Works and Fire were that 2 access points at differing ends, one east and one west of the development, be proposed if the first phase is 30 lots or greater. It would be required when the second phase was proposed if for some reason phase 1 was less than 30 lots. And again, that's to ensure emergency access to this plat. So the options include connecting to Craig Road, going through actually Arrowleaf Townhomes, which is located to the south, or coming through Highland Village, which is to the east, where there are 3 roads potentially that could be connected to this plat, but the requirement would be for them to be built so that it could be utilized for access. Are there any questions about the configuration of the plat and the access? Okay. One of the other comments and suggestions had to do with cul-de-sacs and hammerheads. So you'll notice that the plat on phase 3 is going against a city-county boundary with undeveloped property. Thank you. Loeffler Street and West Avenue. And there are 2 additional streets that run, actually 3 streets that run east and west that do not presently connect to existing roadways. And so the recommendation is that cul-de-sacs or hammerheads, which look like an L, with temporary easements would be put onto a final plat to ensure turnaround points for any member of the public or a emergency response vehicle until such time as those roads are continued and actually connect to the adjacent developments. In other words, you wouldn't be somebody or a fire truck driving down to a dead end street and no way to turn around that apparatus or a vehicle and exit safely. So any questions about the cul-de-sacs or hammerhead request? Okay. So those were all the additional elements I just wanted to highlight for tonight. I think visuals are great to help see what some of these conditions can look like. Yep. On the development. And with that, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Zach, for the staff presentation tonight?
Nope, I think we hit all of them, but you hit the big ones. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners. We will end our staff presentation, and if you have any further questions throughout the hearing, please let us know. We'd be happy to address them.
I did have one question on that map. That darker on the right there, the darker roads there, are those already there or are those proposed? I've been over that area recently, but I'm trying to figure out which roads are actually already built and which ones aren't. See on the right there, you have those kind of shaded. Yeah, that area. Are those already in place or are those proposed?
My understanding is yes, that those roads were recently built as part of the Highland Village connection. Kevin Anderson, our Public Works Director, is also here, as well as Nick Henry, to confirm that.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to get over there trying just to see for myself, but I didn't have time.
Sean, this is Kevin. I apologize. I haven't been over there in several weeks, so I can't verify what has been completed or what is just being planned. I don't know, Nick, if you have anything to add on that.
A little bit. Are we talking over toward where Highland would be? Heather, is that what we're looking at?
Yes, there,
Okay.
if you want to read off the road name, Zach, 'cause you
Yeah.
might have better look of the plat.
Yeah, the road appeared to be completed at least to First and Venn Street. When we were over there about a week ago, we were doing some training. And they had a paved alley in, and they did have dirt roads that were continuing through, but they weren't, I wouldn't take an apparatus on them this time of year with a chance of it sinking. But they were paved up to at least First and Venn, and probably about another maybe half block further or a block further.
Okay.
So as it stands now during phase one, unless we put any provisions or change anything, you guys only have access from First Avenue, is that correct?
First Avenue is not completed at this time to connect to this development. First Avenue
Affirmative.
would go further west, is part of a phase of Highland Village that has not completed final plating at this time, and the roads have not been built.
So which access are they going to have for phase one then if it goes, if this proceeds?
To clarify, this is a development that for access out to both the south and to the east is dependent on connecting to an adjacent development and the roads that they will be building in the future.
Okay. All right.
But that's a great question and a great piece of information for the commission and everybody out there. So just to highlight what Zach has zoomed in on, those dark areas do appear to be the recently constructed areas for Highland Village Phase 1.
And that is true, Heather, yes.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any additional questions for the staff? We do have Kevin Anderson, Nick Henry, Fire Marshal here as well. And we do have Bill White from TO Engineering, our transportation engineer here as well.
We're getting, was there going to be more presentation from the applicants or what?
Yes, we're prepared to move to the applicant's presentation.
Jerry, do you want to go first?
Yeah, Liam is prepared here to start, and then Rick, maybe if you, I know you want to say a few things, and then I'll follow up. So.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first off, thank you to the Planning Commission and to Heather Troutman and Zachary Becker with the Planning Department for the opportunity to speak on behalf of this project. My name's Liam Taylor. I'm the land use planner here at Storehouse Engineering. And this here is Jerry Storehouse, professional engineer and president at Storehouse Engineering. Our office is located at 510 East 3rd Avenue, Spokane, Washington, 99202. On behalf of our clients, Airway Heights LLC, we're proposing a 3-phase, 85-lot residential single-family subdivision on approximately 23 acres of vacant land, which is zoned single-family residential, and it's located in the northern part of Airway Heights. The surrounding area is vacant land, and future platting programs, or excuse me, future developments such as residential single-family developments and some duplex developments. Our proposed subdivision conforms to the zoning standards of the city of Airway Heights and is in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. The project fulfills the community's needs of housing for a growing population and will make improvements to the connectivity of neighborhoods with proposed street connections. And although the land is currently mostly vacant, the project does conform to to the character of the neighborhood of the other future residential neighborhoods. The project is also near the Airway Heights X Motocross Park, as well as a future park to the east in the Highland Village development. The lots are typically 7,200 square feet in size with 60 feet of frontage. We are proposing a 32-foot wide street, and on either side, 2-foot curbs, a 6-foot planter, and 6-foot sidewalks. We will be applying for a variance for the width of the street. I took primary responsibility for completing the application on behalf of Airway Heights LLC. As such, I am available to answer questions that you may have in regard to the layout and the application progress. Jerry Storehouse is available to answer any question in regard to the stormwater control, water infrastructure, and sewer, excuse me, and sewer infrastructure as needed to support this proposal. And with that, Rick, I'll hand the mic over to you.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Jerry, you guys both for all your work on this. Thank you, you guys. I am Rick Richard. I'm one of the 3 partners of the Airway Heights LLC, and also have one of my other partners on here, Eric Tucker. And I just have a few comments, maybe questions. And Eric, I think you might have something to chime in on when I'm done. So, Nick, are you still with us?
I am.
So I have a couple of questions and comments. Are we the first plat that this recommendation is being asked to consider?
I believe we are, but I just took this position earlier this year. Heather, could you answer that question?
I also started with the city of Airway Heights in November of 2019, and so I don't have
okay.
background information.
To answer your question, as far as I know, I believe this is the first, yes.
Kevin, I think you're old hat here, aren't you?
Which recommendation you're talking about? The fire?
The fire.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is Cal. I've been on the committee for several years, but this is the first time.
Well, first a comment. I'm also a residential real estate agent, and I've been selling homes in the entire Spokane area, both rural and suburban, for over 32 years. And I have yet ever to see a private single-family residence with a sprinkler system. And I've sold homes that are much further away from a fire support service. I guess the impact to us that I'm concerned about, to all of you, is it's already a bit of a challenge enticing builders to come to Airway Heights because of park impact, traffic impact, sewer impact, and the fees that we've tried marketing to builders that tell us the fees are just stacked up too deep and too high, and that they're apprehensive to build on our lots. We've run into this in the past. So I have a big fear that this is going to even cause them to shy away even more, as well as hit the goal of providing affordable housing in a price bracket that might be consistent with Airway Heights clientele. So that's a really big concern I have. I don't know. I was glad to hear you say, Nick, that it's a recommendation and not a requirement. And the impact that I see it having on a situation that's already been challenging for us, I'm going to ask that you guys and council don't make it a mandatory requirement for us. It feels like it's a step backwards for what we're trying to accomplish. And I think Eric said he has some properties that have sprinklers. Eric, are you there?
Yeah, Rick. So the burden of not only the cost to put the sprinkler system in from a building standpoint, but the maintenance and the monitoring of that system puts additional burdens on the homeowner. And like Rick said, I've been selling residential real estate for over 26 years and have never seen any sort of requirement like that. And I think Storehog Engineering will also comment on that too. There were two large builders in Airway Heights that were very successful, one being Aho, the second being Hayden Homes. Both of them have abandoned Airway Heights due to the costs to build. And to add additional costs from this perspective could be very damaging to try to find builders that will actually absorb and buy these lots.
Jerry, do you have input on this?
Yes, I do.
Or Liam? Sorry, Liam.
Are you on? You got us on mute there.
Oh, no, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to further comment on that, but first I'd just like to thank Zach and Heather. I think you did a great job putting together a set of a staff report, very professional and very easy to understand. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think we all should feel good about that. But, moving on, on to what Eric and Rick were just talking about, the memo that Nick put together. I appreciate Nick's concerns. He's representing the public, as we all are, and he's looking at it from a side that I think we all need to appreciate. That being said, the tug and pull that we have, the goals that as the developer has, and that is also the community itself, the city of Airway Heights, is we're trying to provide affordable housing that works against the affordable housing goal. I think both Eric and Rick both talked about they haven't seen it, and I won't state how many years I've been in this business, but I haven't seen it either. And I have worked in states all the way from Minnesota to the Pacific, and on a rare occasion we may see it on a situation that's very rural and but not in a situation where we have are within a city itself. So just have not seen it in any community that I worked in. I think the city needs to think carefully about this. If you were to implement a policy such as this, it puts you at a disadvantage to the surrounding communities in providing housing, and housing is a shortage that we have in the area. That it's a need that we need to try to fill. I don't know, Zach, if you could bring up sheet 2 of 2 of the application exhibits. I just want to point out a few things that I think is very important for the Planning Commission to note that this development will do as a benefit to the city.
Jerry, I only got the one application exhibit from Liam. Is that the fire map you're talking about? I'm sorry.
Well, actually, just the sheet 2 of 2 of the preliminary plat application.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This guy or the main one?
That's the one, that's the correct one. So just to start with, just wanted to confirm a question that came up earlier. The streets that are shaded black are constructed. In addition to the south of phase one, the Arrowleaf development, I believe those streets are now constructed also. They weren't at the time of application, but I believe they are now. So there is quite a bit more street accessibility in the area. But the item that I wanted to speak to is, if you look at this exhibit in front of us, you'll notice that there's a connection over to Craig. There's a connection on the north side. There will be a connection down to, I believe it is Loeffler Street on the very west, which connects into Arrowleaf to the south. So this proposal by itself is adding a lot of connectivity to the community, which speaks to the heart of the, what we're in aiding the fire department in terms of response times, and providing to that northern part of Airway Heights another way out if there needed to be. So it's a it's a real asset that I want to point to, and I think it does work well in the favor of mitigating the protection of the public. So just wanted to point that out. As was been stated several times, I think earlier tonight here, and thank you, Nick, for the clarification. I think this memo that was provided on the 11th, as I understand it, the intent was to be a note of awareness to the Planning Commission, to all of us, the development community, and eventually, I suppose, to the city, the need for careful planning, and the awareness that the response times are starting to get up there a little higher than we wish. But emphasis on that it is not a requirement. We just respectfully, as the applicant, request that it does not end up as a condition within the condition of approvals for this project. The applicant fully supports the staff report and the way that the fire department's comments and conditions were originally presented a week ago, and that's that item number 22 that SAC went through earlier tonight. And we would just request that particular condition remains as it is, and that no further requirements to the building construction, whether they be sprinklers or type of construction, are added. That being said, I think Rick, Eric, Liam, and myself are available for any questions that the commission may have. And unless Rick or Eric, you have anything further to add, we'll just turn it back over to Zach. So.
Well, other than you pointed out my rudeness, I didn't thank probably enough for all of your work on this, Heather. You guys have all been easy to work with, and I didn't bring this up to come across adversarial. I just, it defies my logic, to be honest, and I tend to think of things in that way. And so I hope you're okay, just me airing my concerns. I didn't mean to come across any other way, so.
Oh, thank you very much, Rick. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to work with you. I've worked with you for many years, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. This is a goal we all work toward, to see development occur in our community that suits our community needs and is compatible with that. And we appreciate working with you on the project.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I have a response, and it might be a reaction, but I hope it's only a response to a couple of things that I heard. Rick, when you were speaking, you spoke about wanting to bring the community of Airway Heights housing that would fit the profile of an Airway Heights clientele. Can you tell me more about that?
I actually meant price point, not people.
I understand what you meant, but it came across as arrogant, I'm going to tell you, for me.
Well, okay, and I appreciate your honesty. To be honest, we've been working on this development since 1998, and we've had many phases. And in marketing those properties, it took a while for us to be able to get the price points up because we were finding those weren't our typical buyers. We're looking for more affordable housing. Now, I don't know if that was interim base employees or local employees of businesses. I remember in the early phases of this development and even the middle phases, we were having to back off our price points because, and the builders were having to trim their profits, and as the marketers, we were having to trim some of our fees just to get the prices to where they were acceptable in without being arrogant to what the Airway Heights market was speaking to us was acceptable as affordable housing. So,
and that may have been true at one point. I'm sure it was. However, living on First Avenue, I'm presently seeing Viking going like crazy to build and build and build and build. They haven't shied away. I would venture to say that the price point today is certainly different than when you started this proposal. I think it's a great idea, great proposal, but I think that the fire marshal's comments are valid and it's only a recommendation. I presently like the recommendation, but the approach that I got from you two gentlemen as builders sounded like you were doing us a favor, bringing these houses to our community. And I don't mean to sound arrogant either, but that's how it struck me personally. But you can ask the board. I tend to react, and I know it, but that's what I felt.
and I'm not sure who I'm talking to here. You're not up on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Art Bubb. I'm one of the Planning Commission members.
Yeah, I know who you are.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't know you by voice.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got my video on.
Well, we've got a map on.
Oh, all right. I can see the map and me, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, Art, I apologize if I came across that way. I wasn't real elegant in packaging that, but I meant no disrespect to Airway Heights. Please know that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we want to try and keep everything professional here. So, do we have any other comments from anyone in the commission?
Yes, I would just, I would like to know, one is, does Storehog have any future plans to build in Airway Heights?
Storehog isn't the builder. They are.
Sorry.
They're our engineer, Mark.
Sorry. The Airway Heights LLC.
Well, we have the balance of our property, which, Jerry, can you chime in the total acreage inclusive or exclusive of this first phase?
I believe it's an additional, not quite 100 acres. I really don't recall. Maybe Zach, if we bring back up that picture, we can illustrate the remainders. Well, sorry about that, Zach, but that might be the best way to illustrate. It's that, I guess that doesn't show anything, but of course the Airway Heights LLC, Rick, Eric, and Kevin sold the property to the west of this picture to the, I don't think we can bring it up.
School district.
But to the school, that used to be part of the ownership. But what you see is the undeveloped portions up against Craig Road. That is proposed for further development. And that continues down to the south side of 12th Avenue. And so there's a considerable amount of acreage left to be developed that
South
we
of
get
Stick.
been working with the city on an application actually this fall.
South of 6th. Yeah, there you go.
And most of those areas that are in color represent areas to yet be developed.
Just as a clarification, Jerry, you mentioned the school site. The school site is not part of the Hunters Crossing development. That was sold separately to the Cheney School District, correct?
That is correct.
That we sold them, correct.
So all the map we're looking at right now, you're saying the purple and red areas is going to be future growth?
Correct. The yellow, the orange, the brown, the other orange, purple, red.
Do you all have any other plans outside these areas right here in Airway Heights city limits?
We have nothing under contract.
Okay. And then I want to go back to a question that got, or not a question, but a statement that got brought up earlier, because I'm just curious. I know during my time in the fire service, I watched codes change, and you saw that happen, you know, throughout the years. You saw door widths go to a bigger door width. You saw the fire rating on doors change. You saw the fire rating on firewalls change. So there has been changes you've seen over time. How big has the pushback been over time when these codes change, and how much has it actually impacted future growth and how developers or property owners, however you want to term it, look at going into a certain area? Because I hear what you all are saying about the transportation fees and all these other things and how that impacts your decisions. I'd really like to know how the fire codes being more strictly viewed, I guess is the term or the phrase I'm looking for, but how that impacts you negatively throughout time and what ends up happening long-term because of that.
You know, Mark, if I could comment, the difference between changing a code to largen the size of doors or the firewall between a garage and a home or things like that, in my opinion, are not near the cost of having to double sheetrock an entire home or put a sprinkler system in a home and then have to pay for yearly maintenance checks. I think you're kind of talking maybe apples and oranges there, I would think, as far as cost impact, but that's just my opinion.
I might just jump in if I could, Rick, too. You know that I think, Mark, the changes that you've talked about, I believe typically are brought forward through the International Fire Code or the Unified Fire Code, I believe it was previous. You know, so they're changes that apply to the building industry uniformly. What we're talking about here is something that would just be applied to construction within Airway Heights. So.
No, I understand. I was just more curious how throughout time it was reacted each time, because all of these things start with somebody saying it's a good idea, let's try to do this here. And then eventually that becomes the standard. They adopt the fire code to represent that standard. And then it's the new standard going forward.
That's right. Yeah.
I've never, though, heard the opposite argument, just because I've always been in the fire side of it. So I'm curious, over time, when those things happened, how the other side reacted. How did it impact things? You know, I'm not in the fire service anymore. I sit here as a business owner today, and I know that my views are a little bit differently because of that. But I want to do what's right for the citizens of Airway Heights. Whether that's more houses or safer houses is the debate right now.
Well, I think it could be both.
Who's talking?
That was me again, Art. I think it could be both, safer and good for our clientele.
But if we are pricing the clientele out because it makes the house that much more expensive, then what service are we doing our community?
I mean, I don't know if any of you have any figures. This came at us
No.
at a late enough date. We weren't able to price it, but if I was to throw a dart at a board to double sheetrock a house
No.
or to put in a sprinkler system, it's going to be a chunk.
Yeah, double sheetrocking a whole house is certainly much more expensive than sprinkler system throughout the house. I mean, that's apples and oranges for certain. But I don't have a figure either, but I don't believe a sprinkler system would price somebody out of a house.
Perhaps the commission, Nick Henry might have some information on construction costs, and it's certainly not. This could be something that if the plan commission felt that it was a factor in your recommendations or thoughts, that we could be provided at a future time. But perhaps Nick Henry has some additional information on costs for fire resistive construction or fire sprinklers for single family residential homes.
Yeah, Heather, it does add a chunk, and the guys have brought up a good point. Even with the sprinkler systems, there is an annual inspection cost, there's maintenance, and that would be a requirement because if the system doesn't work, then someone is liable. So there's a liability issue. So there are issues with that. You know, and everybody's got good arguments here, and I get all that. I will say that we are not the only agency or the only city looking at this. There's a lot of cities across the country. There are now some large lobbying groups that are lobbying for this. You know, it's not imminent. Will it ever be adopted as a code? I don't know. You know, so there's a lot of checks and balances to be covered and a lot of discussion yet to go through. You know, with a sprinkler system, it is going to be an annual maintenance, which is an additional fee, and it does cost. So we aren't the only ones that have looked at this or considered this, and it is a balance because times are going up and new construction burns, I mean, so fast and so hot. Fires will double in size in minutes. So, you know, it's a balance of trying to find what works, what doesn't, what is feasible. It's a cost balance. GFCIs, when those were first introduced, electricians didn't want to put GFCIs in, but they've stopped a whole lot of fires and injuries. But when they did it, they didn't require retrofitting houses because that'd be millions of homes that would be required to put in new outlets. So there's a balance, and this is just part of the discussion. I don't know if that answers anybody's question or not.
Yeah, I think it does. And again, let me state, I am not opposed to this development. I think it's a great plan. I have no problems with any of it. But I think for me, simply recommending it to the next level doesn't stop anything, and certainly would allow people to gather facts and figures and information to make a city council decision be based on fact, not dollars. I mean, I look at my tax bills, and in 4 or 5 years, our houses have increased tremendously where my taxes have gone up. So I don't think we're going to price people out of the area. So just my opinion, but I'm still supportive of the plan. Don't misunderstand me.
I think it would be most helpful for the time with the applicant for the plan commission if you have specific questions for them, and you know, certainly.
I have one. Just based on what was brought up in the conversation already. I'm just curious, what is the average price point of the homes that are planned for this development?
No, that's a good point.
Eric, you probably could weigh in better on that. You've been working with Hayden and Viking, and
Are they the builders for this development, Viking?
No, but just other new construction in the city.
Well, overall, the goal was affordable housing, and that's becoming more and more difficult due to construction costs. Going through the roof, from lumber to labor, all that is just astronomical. A framing package for a builder in May is now 3x what it is today, according to the builders that I work with. But we're probably looking at the low end of 300 up to 400, so probably 3 to 4, which I know seems very, very high, but from analyzing Vikings doing, I don't think they have plans available that are they may have some that are just under 3, but most of them now are over 300.
Yeah, that's similar to the Viking. I was just curious.
What's that, Sean?
I said that's similar to what Viking's building right now, that price range.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's hard to build a home anymore under 3.
Also, my computer went dead, so Art, I only heard a portion of what you said, and I too want to apologize for trying to sound
for my comments.
yeah, but well, I did too. But the one thing, and just to shed a little bit of light, is we're very excited to have some continuity with Heather being involved now, because and Rick, correct me if my numbers are wrong, but I think over the past 20 years we've come close to almost 20 different planners, and so that has caused some frustration. The other thing is, when we have large, very prolific apartment developers that wanted to build in Airway Heights,
Right.
and we wanted to sell the land to them, and they said, why would we build in Airway Heights when we can build, for $4,000 cheaper per unit in the city of Spokane? And so it was extremely frustrating, and Albert, I've talked to Albert many times, because he said, our focus is affordable housing. And I said, well, how are we going to do that? Because costs are we're going the wrong way. You're not reducing the cost, you're increasing the cost, which is increasing the builder's pricing, which is causing affordable housing to be less. So anyway, so that's part of just the backstory, Art, on that, because it's been a long journey, and we're
and I understand that, and we're all pleased that both Heather and Zach are now with us, helping this process. But I'm also pleased that we're not building apartment houses. Airway Heights has enough. I know that was a side note. I'm sorry, a little side note.
So thank you very much, Eric, for your comments. We do appreciate that, and Art. But are there any additional questions for the applicant about the application?
No.
Heather, I had a question for the fire marshal, if that was okay.
Sure, I'm here.
This is Cal. The question is that on one side, we have a business entity that's concerned about cost and profit. And we have another side that's the fire department making a recommendation for this sprinkler system and all that. Just to understand that if a decision was made not to take your recommendation, what impacts would the fire department seriously see coming out of this?
The potential for, this is worst case.
What's the worst thing?
Yeah. Worst case would be loss of life, because it would take us longer to get there if someone were trapped, or there was someone that was overtaken by smoke while they were sleeping before we were able to get to them. That's worst case, because newer construction does burn so hot and fast. But I don't like to use the scare tactic, but it is a reality. Property can always be,
I'm asking
right.
you
Property can always be replaced.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say property can always be replaced. We always look at life safety first, and then safety of our firefighters also. So that would be worst case. But they're built. These houses are built with lighter construction, but they are built well. So it's a benefit. It's a cost benefit analysis of what we're looking for. Anything we can do to reduce our response times, if there were other options, we're always looking at that too. We are caretakers of our community's budget, and our finances. So we try and balance that also with what we can do. So did that help, Cal?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to hear from your side, just in case we said no or somebody said no, and then a year later, if we had a fire or something, this will come up again, you know?
Yeah, and again, this is more open for discussion tonight. You know, our service is we're going to get up, get out of bed, get to a truck, get out as fast as we can. That's what we train for. And you know, our crews, you know, we time what they do. We time how long it takes to get out of this station on every single call. And if we can find a metric that says we can improve if we do X, we'll train to X and correct that. So we'll continue to improve on our end as much as we can.
No, and the other thing I wanted to ask you is that, you know, I don't know if you saw the previous map where they had the purple and the red color, which is new development coming, right? So if that comes, how
Yes.
is that going to impact you? If safety
We'll
isn't
probably all
taken
be,
in consideration.
yeah, we'll probably all be sitting down having the same conversation. So this is what we're, yeah, this is, and I'll always be available to answer questions or help anywhere I can with all you guys. So
So for
thanks.
clarity
Go
for the
ahead.
planning commission, tonight you're considering an 85 lot subdivision of Hunter's Crossing Northwest Edition. The property owners do own other property in Airway Heights. They've indicated they have other development. That development, there will be a separate opportunity to review that if and when those applications come in. But tonight, the hearing is on the 85 lot subdivision that's been presented to you.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Now, I did on the cross section of the street. I can't remember. I want to say in Airway Heights, isn't the our current code require 40 foot, and these are going to be 34. I heard you say you're going to put in ask for
Variance.
variance. Thank you. Later, or is that part of this tonight?
That is an administrative process that is culminated in a city council decision, and it happens separately from the hearing before you tonight.
So we don't need to worry
it's
about
information for you to let you know that they are meeting the minimum right-of-way width proposed of 60 feet, but within that, they are proposing a narrower roadway section, and they can request a review separately for that, and that would come before council as well, but that would not be before the plan commission tonight.
Okay, that was my last question.
And Sean, and I won't go into why we'd like to see that happen unless you want me to, but we fully appreciate the variance process that's been suggested, and we worked with Kevin before that in the past, and so you know we understand that would be the direction to go.
And for clarity for the plan commission and the public, that variance process, while submitted through Public Works, is screened by other departments. They have an opportunity to comment, including fire, and that culminates in a recommendation to the city council.
All right.
Okay.
If that's it, are we going to move on to public comment on this? Or?
Yep, you would, I think at this time, if there were no additional questions by the plan commission of the applicant, you would open it up for public testimony, and Zach will assist you with that by those that have identified that they'd like to speak. And I believe that Jamie Kowalski has indicated she has a couple of questions and may have some information for the plan commission.
Okay. If none of the other commissioners have any more questions, I guess we can go ahead and move on to the public comment.
If anyone has public comment, please just let me know in the chat and I'll unmute you.
Hi, this is Jamie Kowalski. I'm from Fairchild Air Force Base. I was just wondering if the houses are going to have any kind of sound attenuation, or if that's something that you considered.
We have not had a discussion about that. You mean because of the overhead flying?
Yes, just, I mean, for the base, it's more about like, we don't want noise complaints because that doesn't help us at all. When BRAC comes, those are the things that they look at. And so if our local people around the area make sure that they're compensating for that, then, you know, we don't necessarily have to worry about noise complaints. And so then it's easier for us to exist.
You know, that would be a discussion for us to powwow on. I have no idea what the remedy is, if it's thicker insulation, double plywood in your roof, or
You may have already compensated for it and you don't even know. So, you know what I mean? Like it could be something that you just have to have one person look at it and say, oh, well, you're more ready to do this. So I wouldn't, you know.
Jamie, do you have any information on that whole process that you could share?
I can get you information and will. So
okay. I would love that. That's a new realm for me. Kind of like the what was the dark sky lighting plan. I haven't run into that one before either.
it's just dark sky compliant so that at in the nighttime all your lights are downward facing, and so not bringing anything up to the sky so the planes don't get distracted by the lights. That's all that is.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So it actually,
but in a nutshell.
So it actually called that, I think, a dark sky lighting study? Or is it just a adherence to being aware of that and knowing that that's something that we just have to adhere to?
I think Heather can probably answer that better than I can. I know she can because she's very much on point.
She's the dark sky lighting whisperer.
Yeah, well, she's just amazing anyway. So go on.
Thank you very much. This is Christmas really for me. Holy cow. Thank you. Dark night sky plan is simply submitting the fixtures showing that they're downward facing. So that includes lighting that would go onto buildings. And it wouldn't apply necessarily in this case if, for example, you're doing a parking lot, it's just showing that the fixtures are downward facing. It's this, and then as the building department looks at the lumens for the fixture, so it's just a simple schematic identifying the range of the light fixtures. It's very easy to comply with. And just to kind of go back on the sound attenuation, we have found this last year that the energy codes, which are adopted at the state level, they're another one of the international codes, have been catching up with essentially sound attenuation requirements and the simple requirements of a building through the glazing, the insulation, and other mechanisms that are being required. Can be looked at by an engineer, and we've been finding that they're actually providing sound attenuation without any additional features to a project. So it's a great case where mitigation for sound is meeting up with other needs like energy conservation at the same time. So that's just an experience we've had this year where they didn't have to change building design because energy code choices that they made were already mitigating sound for the buildings.
Yeah, Jamie, one quick comment. If you compare like a new construction home to a manufactured home, mobile home, or a home that was built in the 50s that has skip sheeting for roofing versus decking, you're gonna see a significant sound difference in those type of structures, the new structures now. And to Heather's point that, you know, with the new energy codes, these houses are built. I mean, you shut the door and you can't hear a semi roll by, you know, let alone an airplane. So some of the construction codes now are pretty stringent on that.
That's probably a conversation the planning commission somewhere had someday in the past.
Well, I'll tell you, my house is only a couple years old. It's one of the newer ones in the area. And I don't have a problem with the planes. They fly over all the time. I can hear them, but they're not loud enough to bother me. Except when the fighters come in. That's the only time they get really loud.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie. So I think did we get all of your questions from the chat too?
Yeah, I didn't have any additional questions. Or I'm sorry, but Jamie, are you good?
Yes, I realize that this isn't the place to ask about the school stuff, so we'll talk about that later.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thank Mr. Richards and Storhog for being here and presenting to us. So I guess Heather, that just close this out, or do we have to vote on something for this?
Yes, so you would close the public testimony, and you would entertain a motion with regards to the application from the Plan Commission. And once you have a motion, then you can debate the actual application as Plan Commission members, and you would culminate with a vote regarding the application, as well as the resolution that was in Zach's staff report with some recommended findings. So Zach, if you could pull up your resolution, but that would be the sequence of order. Mr. Chair, would be to close the public testimony and entertain a motion of the Plan Commission on the application.
All right, 7:51, I'm going to close public testimony on the Hunters Crossing. I'm going to close public hearing on the Hunters Crossing preliminary plat. And do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Sean, to open up debate.
Well, it's going to be a motion to approve or disapprove the resolution, and then we just debate on that. Is that, am I incorrect on that?
That would be correct, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I'll make the motion to move forward. Sorry.
Can that motion be amended to include the fire marshal's comments?
Well, that'll be part of our discussion, I believe, right?
Okay, that's fine.
So you have a motion to recommend approval of the application to the city council. We need to have another commission member second it.
I'll second
and then it
yeah.
would be open for discussion.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right.
And then the commission, certainly you have discussion of the motion.
So I'm going to open discussion on the motion that's open at the moment on approving and passing on to the city council the resolution PC number 2020-024.
As I've said before too, I recommended moving forward to city council, but I would like to see the fire marshal's comments added and have the city council determine if there's action or not.
I've honestly, personally, I've heard of these fire sprinklers for residents for a while. I know they're bouncing around a lot of places. There's actually a couple states that require it. There's a lot of states that are against it. It's kind of pretty controversial, depending where you go. I think, I mean, I wouldn't mind having one in my home. If it could stop my whole house from coming down, it would be great if there was fire, but I know there's an extra cost on it. I've done small research on it, just little quick stuff here and there, and the overall cost in the initial build, depending on size of home and system and everything, ranges anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000, it looks like, and then the annual costs also range from $50 to $400, depending on where you live, what it costs to get it inspected annually, but that's all averages. But I don't think the cost is too exorbitant, especially if we have a requirement to the citizens to make sure that we can get our fire departments there in time. If we are approaching that not being able to make that 5-minute response time that we've been putting forward, then I think we do need to pass it on to the council, mainly just to look at the issue going forward. I wouldn't expect to make this mandatory on this current project. I think it's too late in the game for that. So I think it's something we should look at future builds, if it's something they want to adopt, or if we need to look at upgrading our fire department so that they have more resources on that side, whichever it is. But we do need to start by looking at the response time. That's my opinion. So I agree with Art. I think we should move it on to the city council. I don't think it should be a mandatory issue on this current one, just because it's not part of our code at the moment, and to throw it on the builder this late
Right.
is asking a lot. But I do think we need to bring it to discussion, get the discussion started with city council on how they want to pursue addressing the response times for the fire department.
Yep. I agree.
I agree
This
with,
is, oh, go ahead, Mark.
sorry, Cal, I don't mind waiting.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
I'm just going to say I agree with Art. I agree with Sean that yes, it's a good idea. I think having sprinklers just makes us all more safe.
Yeah.
I am more worried, though, in my humble opinion, about access to affordable housing in Airway Heights, especially because we're not wanting to move forward on any other apartment complex or anything like that. So we're leaving it to single family homes. I'm concerned about that cost and how much it's going to be prohibited in the long run. And I understand what you're saying, Sean, the $6,000 cost, but we're looking at something that'll be built years from now, and we don't know what that cost will be then, nor do we know what the maintenance cost will be. And I think it would be incumbent on the city council to discuss that. If they want to have it and put it in motion, then they can do that. But I just don't agree with making it a recommendation now as required.
But if we don't make not as required, no, but make the recommendation to have it move forward so city
To the
council
city.
can do it. Yeah, I'm not saying
Right.
require it. We can't require it.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying my humble opinion, I don't think it should be a requirement. I don't think we should be asking this to happen in this flat. I don't think it's incumbent on us, though, to decide that. That's the city council's job.
Agreed. But as we've all heard on many different issues, if we don't start the conversation, we never get to a result. And somewhere this has got to be discussed and determined. You know, currently we all face a yearly inspection of our backflow valves, and there's a cost there, and that's part of living in this city. So it's part of the plan.
But to play devil's advocate on that, I mean, I know from my own experience when I was going to build a business in Airway Heights, the sprinkler system was a determining factor.
Sure.
You know, it was over 12,000 square feet you're putting a sprinkler system in. I could not afford that. So that was a determining factor. And I don't know how this will be in these houses, but if it's a determining factor in whether or not somebody buys that house, I think that that's important. And I that we should be discussing it, but I don't think that I would feel comfortable saying that, yes, I recommend this for this property.
And I'm not saying that at all. You're right. But I think it should go forward with a strong recommendation to have city council look at it.
But I see what Mark's saying. We don't want it to attach to this plat. We want the discussion to be open to the city council level, but we don't want it to be a contingent or anything with this thing. So I don't know if maybe we should have it. I'm not sure. Is this in maybe not the proper place, Heather? You think is it okay for us to put it forward to the city council just as to get the conversation started, but not have it as any kind of condition for this, or should we go about that a different way?
Absolutely. You could move this application forward with the other conditions, whatever those may be, and identify this as an area where you are requesting that the council consider this. And I believe that the language you're looking for is the to begin discussions or deliberations about sprinkler systems in general. Because I've heard a couple of times from some of the members that you're not necessarily wanting to apply it to this project, but that you want for the city council to consider implementing a sprinkler ordinance.
Well, not necessarily implementing it, at least get open to discussion on what we need to do to address the response time. So if we can't, I know adding a second fire station and beefing up our fire department is expensive as well. I know currently, honestly, we only have a certain number of actually paid firefighters. Most of them are volunteers, so we're already full the force.
Sure. Yeah. So I think you can separate them, and you can move forward this proposal without the requirement for a sprinkler, and then as you've indicated as a separate motion, you could perhaps even request that a letter be drafted for the Plan Commission signature asking the city council to look further into level of service, response time, and what methods may be necessary to support the fire department. Is that summarizing the discussion that you've had?
I think that's where I'm going. I'm not sure about the other commissioners, but
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Right, so I was looking for in my my attachments here. Did we get the one that's on the screen right now? Was that part of our packet?
It's in the staff report, Sean. It's at the back end of the staff report.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it.
This is Cal. Just a quick question. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but the current motion does not include the fire sprinkler questions we have right now, correct?
The only motion before the Plan Commission that has a second is to approve the project.
Right.
So we should probably approve the project and let the city council make the decision on the sprinkler requirement.
Yeah, and then there was other stipulations that I brought up. The one for the Spokane tribe. Is that do we need to add that to this too, or is that already on here?
I'm sorry, Sean, can you repeat that one more time? I'm having some difficulty hearing your audio.
Yeah.
It's number 23 already.
Oh, I see it there. Okay. So that's already on there.
Yep.
Is it appropriate for me to ask a question whether that is a requirement or a recommendation?
So it would be up to the Plan Commission to recognize and respond to your question, Rick.
I'll recognize Mr. Richards. I'm assuming you're referring to number 23 there, Spokane Tribe of Indians one.
Yeah, and again, just based on the same thing, working on this development since '98, this is the first time this has popped up. So I'm just curious why all of a sudden, and B, is it recommended or is it a requirement?
It's something that's on the people, I believe, right?
This is Cal. I've seen this previously on a previous plaque that was done maybe about 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
This has always been their part of the requirement. I believe so, because this is probably second time I've seen it over last 3 years.
I would agree. It's the second time I've seen it. Sean, you outranked us all in years, but I believe it's a requirement. We cannot waive it, I don't think.
Okay, just again, I've never seen it, and we've had.
No, I think it's a pretty serious requirement, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
God help it if you find something and we don't include it.
and the representatives from Spokane Tribe that we have worked with us, they're really good to work with. They're not. Pretty good on that.
Probably find Storhog's old boots.
All right, so I guess we're going to the motion as.
So we have a motion and a second.
So just clarify the motion of the Plan Commission. You have a motion to approve the proposed Hunters Crossing First Edition North development. That's simply a recommendation to approve. Did you want to specifically discuss each of the proposed conditions that's in the staff report, or as a clarification for Mark and Art, were you recommending approval in that motion of the preliminary plat with the conditions 1 through 23 as they are presented in the staff report? So it's a clarification of what you were including in the motions to answer the question about what it completely includes.
Well, this is regarding just simply, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sean, or Mark.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I believe, do we have to word it differently then? 'Cause I was assuming we were including these, the staff report, the 23 items there on the recommendations.
Yes, exactly. That's what I thought too, Sean.
Me too. Me too.
Okay.
Now,
I agree.
this is just for the first section, right?
You mean the
This
first
is only-
edition plat?
Yes.
That's the only application you have before you is for the
Okay.
85 lots.
All right.
So, any other discussion on the matter? We have the motion is to approve the resolution with the, then move it forward to the city council with the staff report, the 23 staff report recommendations as well, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 I guess then if we don't have any other comments, I'll take a vote if that's. So all in favor of moving PC resolution 2020-204 to the city council with the staff report recommendations, say aye.
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 It sounded like that was unanimous. Just in case, was anybody opposed? All right, so that resolution is being passed on to the city council.
Thank you very much for a lot of discussion, really great interaction with the applicant and the public. We very much appreciate everyone's time tonight and the dedication to seeing a better future for our community as a result of this process. So thank you very, very much. And thank you for all the great questions that are out there too. That means you too, Art.
And then,
So just as,
I was gonna say if we want to try and send a letter then to the city council, do we need to do a motion, or can we just pass it on? How does that work to pass that information?
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Gary, Liam, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks.
I would be, I don't know a definitive answer, Sean, but I would be willing to bet that the fire marshal will send the same memo to them and perhaps appear to speak to that. But if you feel we should send something in writing, I'm okay with that.
Is Nick still on, Nick Henry still on the call?
I am here, gentlemen. Yes.
So is that the case? Are you planning, have you already brought this up to the city council by chance, or is this something you're planning to bring up to them as well?
I put it into our general notes. I don't know, Heather, has that been submitted to council?
no, not yet, because this was culminating in tonight's open record hearing, but everything that was in today's record will be forwarded to the city council, including the letter from November 11th from the fire department will be in the packet that goes to the city council. So there's no need for the fire department to resubmit that letter to the council. It will be going as part of this package.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
So it's really up to the plan commission. If you would like to discuss preparing a letter in response, I would suggest that we can move that under action items for later this evening, and move on to the next two hearings that we still have scheduled for tonight.
Yeah, I know.
If you would be your desire or to do
That's
that.
fine with me. I just wasn't sure the procedure on that. So we'll go ahead and open up. We'll get moving on here. At 8:10, I'll open up public hearing for the marijuana production processing in P2.
I hate to interrupt.
Okay, thank you
Sean,
very
but
much.
Can we take like a 2-minute break real quick?
Yes, you can. You can, if you agree as a commission to take a break, identify what time we would return. Zach would turn off the recording and we would all meet back here.
Okay, I'll be fine with that. It's 8:10. Do we want to adjourn for 5 minutes? Exactly 8:15.
So that would be returning at 8:15.
And is that good with everybody?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
All
Go
right,
ahead, Mark, go.
Yes.
go. And
Everybody has returned?
Yep.
All
Yes.
right. I guess we can proceed now with the public hearing for the, I lost it. It was marijuana in the C2, correct?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. If I believe I have sharing privileges for this, so I will pull up my staff report and share it with all of you. And let me do one thing, because apparently the map shows up pretty big. All right, there we go. If you need me to increase the size, please let me know. I can zoom in for sure. So this is a proposal which has been workshopped for the previous 2 months with the Plan Commission. This is a proposal to modify the C2 general commercial zone to include some language that would modify the ability to allow both processing as well as production, so growing scene of marijuana in the C2 zone under certain conditions. The proposal is to allow for that to be for property that shares a boundary with a heavy industrial zone without any intervening ownership, that the property is measured from the outermost boundary, that the use of the site is at least 1,000 feet from a residential use as of December 1st of this year. And the reason for December 1st is it's around the time that the council would potentially consider this measure, and that all portions of an operation would have to be no further than 1,000 feet from that heavy industrial zone property. There are decision criteria that the Plan Commission are required to consider for text amendments. This is change to the actual zoning code line. The underline means it would be added to the language of the existing code. Anything without an underline means it's already in the code today. So those requirements for your consideration are that it has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff has provided analysis indicating that it is consistent with goals and policies of our recently adopted comp plan for June of this year. Also requires an analysis with regards to provisions for open space, drainage, public right-of-way, parks, recreation. This is a text amendment, so by itself, a text amendment doesn't create any public amenities. Development itself is subject to adopted standards, so things have to put in sidewalks next to a development, or they have to improve the street, do they have to bring sanitary sewer to the site? Those are applied at the development level for an individual project. It also requires that there be identification of adverse environmental conditions and mitigation. A SEPA determination of non-significance was issued that we received no comments from any agencies, including Spokane Clean Air, and we also circulated to the State Department of Liquor and Cannabis on this proposal, and there were no comments. There's a requirement that is going to be public, harmful to the public welfare or safety. The proposal is a very small modification. I have a map that I'll show you that identifies the property that would allow for marijuana production. As we've heard previously, this is being done to address an error with regards to the application of the current zone and some expectations with regards to development of that property. This would allow for the growing and processing limited to that site, and it is adjacent to a heavy industrial zone. The development would not lower levels of service, which again are adopted levels of service. The text amendment increase any need for fire, police, transportation. Any individual development project that would result from a text amendment being able to be located at the site would have to go through its own review to determine what would be needed and if there's any impact that needed to be mitigated. And of course, the last criteria is the location is suitable. Again, the criteria are designed around being adjacent to heavy industrial area, and new development would be subject to project review, determination of individual impacts and mitigation. So with that, I'll show you the map location that the criteria through our GIS system indicates would likely be the site. And to the north is US Highway 2 of this map. And if I believe correctly, going north-south of the location. Just immediately north, you can't snap, is the, here it is right here. Here's the post office to bring you to the location of this property. So as you can see, based on the three criteria, a very small area would be eligible for inclusion in this limited or processing for production of marijuana in the C2 general commercial zone. I'll just go back to the staff report.
Now this is just for
You see the map in the background there.
This is just for
Oh, sorry.
processing,
Apologize.
This isn't for retail, correct?
Yep.
It's just for production and processing.
So, the zoning code already allows for retail in a C2 zone, so this is not changing that. Okay, so let me get back to the staff report here. And I'll put the staff report back up on the screen. All right. So this is where, as indicating retailer right here in the existing code, no person may conduct a business of a state licensed producer, processor, or retailer unless located in the appropriate zone, C2, I1 and I2, and then the remainder of this section of the code talks about retailers being already allowed in the C2 zone. So that is the staff's presentation for this ordinance. The staff is recommending that the Plan Commission recommend approval of this amendment to Airway Heights Municipal Code 714 and forward it to the City Council. We've attached a resolution for the Plan Commission, Plan Commission Resolution 2020-25 that would adopt findings for this proposed change to the code. And with that, that concludes staff's presentation.
This is Cal. I just wanted to make a comment for record that I have no personal conflict of interest financially or personally in making a decision on this recommendation.
I'm going to copy Cal's statement and say the same thing. This is Mark Collins. I have no financial interest in this decision or vote.
Thank you.
Do we have any?
So with that, if there,
I'll just open it up for the commissioners to add any comments or questions on this resolution.
It's pretty straightforward, but Heather, how can we get it to where the word marijuana and cannabis are the same? Like instead of having two different words for the same thing?
One's more politically correct.
Cannabis.
Yeah.
Marijuana is a drug. Cannabis is everything.
But that aside, you have cannabis being used in here in some places and then marijuana used in others.
Mark, this is Cal. Cannabis, I think, also includes hemp, right? If I'm
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
And marijuana is strictly just to the THC.
Well, marijuana is slang. It's a slang word.
Slang, right. Yes.
Cannabis is defining the actual product, which includes, cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, cannabis ruderalis, which the hemp falls under the cannabis ruderalis. It's just a technical term for it. And I'm just saying, if we're going to have it, we should be congruent in our terms.
But I think in the zoning and everything, they mentioned marijuana. All the other documents in the city that has marijuana mentioned everywhere rather than cannabis.
so the language of the text of the code uses the term cannabis, and just looking at it real quickly, that it's consistently using cannabis. My staff report uses the slang term marijuana in describing it's the basically what we're doing, but the text would uses cannabis, and that hasn't been altered as part of the proposal.
I did notice in the resolution, though, that it does have both terms. I don't know if that matters or not. Like the fourth whereas, the development cycle of marijuana production processing.
We can certainly, through your recommendation, alter the resolution to make sure that it uses cannabis. So the fourth one, whereas, and I'm just looking really quickly through the rest of the resolution. I think that's the only whereas in the resolution, just in a quick review, that's the word marijuana.
I don't have a problem.
I think from a stand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sean, I didn't catch the question. My video froze up.
Oh, no, I was just saying I have no problem with that correction. If you want to
Okay.
put that forward.
If there are any other further questions from the Plan Commission, the chair would open it up.
I'll open it up for public comment at this time. If we have anyone who has any comments to make, go ahead and let Zach know in chat so that he can unmute your mic. Don't look like anybody's responding, so it doesn't look like we have anybody up for public comment on this. So I guess I can go ahead and, if we have no other comments from staff or commissioners, I'll go ahead and close this public hearing for at 8:29. Now we need a motion to approve or recommend the approval or disapproval.
I'll make a recommendation to approve proposal. I can't remember the number.
PC 2020-025. Uh-oh, Mark, are you still? Oh, I thought you
Yes,
froze up for a second.
I'll make the motion to pass resolution PC 2020-025.
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion on this before we vote? Anyone have any comment?
I don't have any comments.
No.
No.
So Heather, so to add the correction for just that one instance where it's marijuana instead of cannabis, how would we word that?
So the motion would be to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance change to city council with the removal of the word marijuana in the resolution.
So we've already opened the approval, so can we just add that, or do we have to start over with that?
No, if both Mark, who made the motion, and Art is the person who second agrees
Yes.
to
Yes.
a friendly amendment, then you can add the removal of the word
Yeah.
marijuana from the resolution.
Okay, so
Okay.
on PC resolution 2020-025, the proposed change of substituting the word marijuana with the word cannabis. How did everybody vote on the approval of this resolution?
Aye.
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 Aye. So
Yes.
unanimous. We'll approve resolution PC 2020-025 with the correction of the word marijuana to cannabis.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your consideration of this, and we move forward to city council.
All right, so that brings us to our third and last public hearing for the night on transportation I can't talk today. Transportation concurrency ordinance. Looks like Mr. Anderson has this one.
Well, good evening, everyone. Nice job. Nice job. And
Oh,
I do.
I guess I should open the public hearing first. So I'll open the public hearing at 0832 or 8:32. Sorry.
Perfect. Well, this item was covered in our Planning Commission workshop on October 14th. As you recall, this is a pretty straightforward update of our transportation concurrency ordinance. The ordinance that we have currently on our books was prepared in 2007. And so this is an updating of it, cleaning up some things. As you can see, and I can bring up with, once I share my screen here, host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay, so I guess what I'll,
should have host now, Kevin.
okay, all right, let's see here. Okay, so what I have is the, this is the ordinance that you're looking at, and I'm going to peruse down this real quickly just so, and we've covered this before, but just so you can get a sense of how explicit we are with what we're modifying it. Whatever's stricken through, that's being eliminated. New text is being added where underlined. As you peruse through it, you can see there are really minor modifications generally, just to overall summarize. The principal modifications to the ordinance, there are LOS standards, the level of service standards that are explicitly shown, and those would be like right here. These LOS standards are in keeping with our currently adopted comprehensive plan. That's a significant modification. Another significant modification is what you see here, and that is the street names associated with principal and minor arterials that are subject to evaluating concurrency on, in addition to other roads. But one of the issues has always been, if you are identifying principal and minor arterials in your ordinance, every time you modify your classification, you're going to have to update your ordinance to deal with that. So these have been deleted, and a lot of the rest of the text has just been intended to make things more user-friendly and straightforward. For example, the certificate of capacity here has been changed to certificate of concurrency to be consistent. Rather than go through the details of the staff report, which was so ably done by Heather for this topic, I'll just summarize it quickly. The Planning Commission has to have developments that are consistent with the comprehensive plan. We demonstrated that in the staff report. Development has to make provisions for streets and other public ways. The development has to mitigate adverse environmental impacts, can't be harmful to public health, safety, and welfare, and does not lower the level of service below minimum standards in the comp plan. That analysis is contained in the staff report. Also contained in the staff report, as I mentioned, we covered this in a Planning Commission open forum workshop on October 14th. There was a public notice for this hearing on October 29th, and copies of these revisions have been forwarded to the Department of Commerce and the SRTC, the Spokane Regional Transportation Council. So we've gone through the public process. Tonight, we are asking that the Planning Commission resolution in the staff report 2020-026, that the Planning Commission adopt that resolution subsequent to the hearing that we're just about to have. I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
I don't have any questions.
Neither do I.
I don't have any questions. I think you were straightforward.
I agree. No questions.
I'd suggest, Mr. Chairman, that you open up for public testimony.
Okay, this time we'll go ahead and open up any public testimony on this resolution. If we have any, just go ahead and enter it in chat so that Zach can give you the chance to speak.
I just have a question because I'm curious about the traffic impact fees for this new development. Is this based on this new one, or is it based on what your old stuff was?
So it's a good question. What we're doing here is this concurrency ordinance is in order for us to determine the rules about whether or not a development is concurrent. As to how we assign costs for impact fees, that's a separate process. I mean, they're related, but it is a separate process. Currently, under our current regulations, we have a defined per unit cost for each unit that is built within this area. So for the Hunters Crossing people that were just in, they would be subject to that. We are going through a separate process for updating the way we calculate traffic impact fees. And that's not necessarily related to this resolution.
Doesn't look like we have anybody else for comment. So if no one else has any comments from the commission or from the public, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing at 8:39.
Great.
We'll need to have a Recommendation for approval or disapproval for resolution PC number 2020-026.
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 2020-026.
And I'll second.
All right. Do we have any discussion on the matter from anyone on the commission?
No.
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 All those in favor of approving to pass this on PC resolution 2020-026 to the city council, say aye.
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 All right, unanimous, so that passes to the city council.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Kevin and Bill, for Wyatt from TU Engineering, who is there and identified our need to update this ordinance and work diligently with the staff to make sure that this did, as Kevin indicated, work well with our traffic impact fee ordinance, which the commission had a hearing on last.
Computer's smoking tonight, I tell you what.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Again, this is it's a big part of how we review projects to make sure that we actually have the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure available to serve development at the time that it's built. So this companion ordinance is a big update for us moving forward. So thank you very much. And thank you again, Kevin and Bill, for hanging in there tonight.
The plat last and you those first. Okay, so that moves us on to action items. There's nothing on the agenda, but we do have the issue with the fire sprinklers. And I think what I ultimately wanted to do, for me, I'm not sure the proper way to do this, but I'd like to present something to the city council just to let them, make them aware that we need to start looking at addressing the issue of the fire department with the growth that we've had in this area, whether that's sprinklers, whether that's growing the fire department. I mean, there's a lot of different options there. Just let them know that it has come up in our planning commission meetings. It was kind of a hot topic on pros and cons and who's for and who's against, but on sprinklers. But I think it's just a discussion that the city council, if they haven't already started talking about it, it needs to start probably talking about with the amount of growth that we're seeing here in LA. I would like to see it.
Do you think we should send a letter as a concern for the future that that if we see increasing development, there could be a bottleneck in the fire department?
I know sprinkler systems would definitely help the fire department because it would allow them a little more leeway on response time, but then at the cost to the builder's side and then the cost to the homeowner. So you got your pros and cons on both sides of those. And just a discussion that I think they need to start having and figure out how they want to, which route they want to take to address it, so that we make sure we maintain good response and service to our community as far as fire department is concerned.
Here's just a thought as well. Last joint meeting that we had with City Council, I felt was very informative and very productive. Perhaps we could send some sort of a generic letter and then ask if it could be a topic of conversation at a joint meeting. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That way we get to know how their thinking process is taking place on a subject that's important.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like also we should, it's more than just fire service though too. You know, we got ambulances that are going to be responding as well, law enforcement that'll be responding as well. How are they going to be held up with this growth, and how is the city going to react going forward?
I might then suggest, Heather, not like you need one more thing to do, but could you draft or someone draft a letter, send it out to Planning Commission, and let us then respond with comments, suggestions, whatevers, before we formally send them a letter?
We could absolutely do that, and I would suggest getting feedback from the fire department, from the chief Mitch
Yep.
Metzger, and the fire marshal Nick Henry as well.
Sure.
And if we're wanting to expand this discussion further, then maybe even the police chief on how
Yep.
the law enforcement is being addressed as well.
Yeah.
I know they're pretty busy themselves. So
I just know there wasn't a fire that I went to that police and ambulances didn't show up.
Right.
They're always
Right.
there as well.
Sure, I would include police department as well. Yeah. Good point.
So absolutely, we could draft a letter that would be to go to the city council that identifies the concerns about growth impact on public services, public safety services in the city of Airway Heights, and that this has come up as part of the development review of the Plan Commission, to circulate that to the Plan Commission members, Chief Bradley, Chief Metzger, and Fire Chief Henry, and bring it back for the next Planning Commission meeting for a final action. And that letter would include a request for a joint meeting with the City Council and the Plan Commission.
So
Wonderful.
Yes.
that sounds good.
Okay, I can work on that with all the others involved, and we'll bring that back to you at your December meeting.
Fabulous. Thank you.
brother.
Absolutely.
So, any commissioners have any other action items that they want to address?
No.
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 We can move on to workshops. I used to have one now. Voting spaces, changes in dimensional requirement.
All right, thank you. I will make this really quick. So this came up during a project review earlier this year, which is the size of the loading spaces that we have at our development code standards for development review. So fancy words are, we had a project come in, and it came to our attention in discussions with the applicant that the width of the stalls you put a semi into differ from Airway Heights to other communities in our area.
Ooh.
So the difference for a project is when they're emphasizing shipping or warehousing, it impacts how efficient that their operations can run, because they're not able to put as many loading stalls for semi trucks adjacent to the building when they're wider. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to pull up the text here. So as part of our process, we committed to take this on as another text amendment to the code. And it's a relatively small change to the code. I'm just going through and what you've already had in your staff report. Actually, it's a copy of the code, which is a literal copy of our parking and loading standards. And looks like my internet is a little bit slow, so hopefully it will catch up here. And so it's this really specific section of 1721-100D, as in David, and that would be decreasing the width of the stall to 12 feet and the length of the stall to 30 feet. So I did some research looking at the city of the Valley, the city of Spokane and Spokane County, to see what those neighboring communities were providing for, and this proposal is based on those. The only community that actually goes narrower with their loading stall for a semi-trailer is the city of Spokane, where they're proposing a 10-foot wide stall, but the city of the Valley does have a 12-foot wide standard. And that was consistent with what we were hearing from the applicant for this project, as indicating that 12 feet wide was an industry standard for the width of a loading stall. So that is the background to this proposal. This is a text amendment, and we're asking for questions from the Plan Commission and to consider moving this on to public hearing.
I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
We're no experts
Well,
on
thank
it.
you very much. Well, if it help, I could bring back some drawings, but just imagine a long building that for every parking stall under our current requirement of 15 feet versus 12 feet, it would be losing 3 feet. So it doesn't take very long in total building length to start losing the number of loading stalls for a semi-trailer.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything to discuss about that, right? I guess.
No.
And you're saying the 12 foot is kind of an industry standard, so I don't have a problem updating us to get us on the right page here with everybody.
Why would have they made it 15 anyway? Just curiosity.
You know,
And fatter trucks.
The roads won't allow 15
Well-
foot, right? Bigger trucks.
you've heard of roadway diets, right?
No, I don't want to know.
I don't believe, I'm not an expert in this subject, but I don't believe that semi trucks are any wider or narrower than they have been, because the size of the semi is pretty much dictated by federal and state requirements
Right.
for vehicle permitting and licensing, and then it's emphasized by the width of the lane that you can drive down the road with a vehicle. So there's lots of systems there enforcing narrower trucks, I'm sure. So thank you very much, but we'll bring this back for hearing for the Plan Commission and move forward with this text amendment.
Great.
We've already removed the next item as part of your amendment to the agenda.
Is that going to be moved to the next meeting?
I've been contacted a couple of different times by the Kalispels indicating that they're prepared to move forward with the development agreement for the rezone that was processed in 2018 into 2019. And they have indicated that they've been working on what they would like to propose as part of that agreement. So we have postponed this from last spring and brought it forth again because there was indications that they were ready to review this at this time, and we haven't seen the draft. So I'm going to wait to bring this back onto your agenda until I see a PDF document.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that brings us to wraps up our workshops and brings us to commission reports. Any commissioners have anything they want to bring forward?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
All right. So having no commissioner reports, we can go on to the staff report.
For staff reports, as you know, we are one commissioner down for a full planning commission. We've received 2 applications thus far for planning commission members. I was going to ask the commission about potentially communicating outward through social media the opportunity to be a commission member. We've reached out to those people who've shown interest in the past for the 2 applications that we have presently. But I think it would be fair to the community to at least announce that there is an opening so that we can see if there's other interested parties in our community who might also like to put their name in for Plan Commission. And I wanted to see what your thoughts about that first question. And then I have some recommendations about how to address the applications that we do have moving forward.
I think we should
Either
put
this
about-
is, oh, go ahead.
No, go
Either
ahead.
this is, go. Heather, this is Cal. We haven't posted it to the public yet, right?
No, we have not.
And if we do post it to the public, we got to make sure that we make it very clear that the person has to be residents of Airway Heights, because the position that's open will require that.
Yes. I
Okay.
completely agree. We should identify what the requirements are for this commission position, what the tenure would be, etc.
That's it. I don't have anything further.
I think it's a good idea. I think we should post it and give people an opportunity to respond if they want to. I know I've reached out to a few people, but I've never seemed to get lucky with finding people who want to do it. So.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and post it to social media and see if it'll get cross-posted with Airway Heights Community Facebook page. And I would recommend probably putting an application deadline on it. While we take applications continuously, we did find in this particular instance, at least one of the applications, they wanted to wait till there was an opening before they would apply. So do you have any thoughts on how long you'd like the application period to be open for?
Probably till the end of the year. Even if we pick somebody, won't be ready for the next meeting, right?
There is a process already by which a person is appointed by the council, so would have to go to a council before they could be a commission member. So
Right.
there's some process.
What's a typical time frame in any other city on their planning commission?
I have not researched other commissions' application timelines. I believe that Airway Heights and other communities are consistent in that they constantly have an open position on commission and boards, because as you know, volunteering is very difficult. It's time consuming at 8:56 p.m. on Thursday. It requires a lot of work and dedication. And so my experience has been most cities have an ongoing recruitment. They don't typically put deadlines. That was only a suggestion in this case, so that we could spur someone to
Gotcha.
know that they should apply and when by, so that we could talk about the next step, which I'm going to propose to you, which would be unique but interesting opportunity for the Plan Commission to be involved.
I agree with Cal then, at the end of the year.
That's fine.
Are we okay to wait that long? Or are we going to be in any kind of violation since we don't have?
I mean, I think we got a good group of 4 people right now. I think in previously, last couple of years, it's always been like what Heather said, we were desperately looking for people to fill in the spaces so we can have a meeting. But I think right now, with 4 of us, we're doing a good job, and maybe give it a little bit time and maybe bring in somebody a little different, looking from a different lens than all 4 of us, I guess.
Okay, I'll go with that. That sounds like a good plan.
All right, well, we will advertise this out with an application deadline of the first of the year. We do have 2 applicants. We'll follow up and let them know that we're going to be taking other applications. So the next thing I'm going to recommend is, once you do have a pool of applicants, I was going to see your interest in interviewing those applicants and making a recommendation to the city council.
That would be nice. I think that's a great suggestion from you, because we are trying to build a team here. So let's build a team that we can all get along and work together and progress together, I guess.
Or, as Mark indicated, filling out representation, maybe somebody who might be different.
That always helps. You don't want everybody agreeing on everything, right? We need somebody who disagrees.
Well, you're stuck with me.
I like the way you come across. I mean, all of us have a different point of view about many
True.
things, and it's great that we're not all agreeing on everything all the
True.
time.
Agreed.
Today was a great example. You had a really robust discussion about how to address public safety with regards to development proposal.
I think more information cannot hurt. So interviewing is definitely, I think, a good idea.
Yep.
Well, we'll proceed with that process, and then we certainly would be forwarding all the applications to the city council, but it could be accompanied with a recommendation from the planning commission of your candidates in an order or top candidate recommendations. So we'll move forward with that. So that's the update on the plan commission vacancy. And moving forward, we'll do some more in-depth discussion, but for next year, we're already preparing our work plan. So we can get into more discussion details in December, but it's going to be kicking off a completely updated comprehensive plan. As you know, we'll also be seeing the downtown plan draft with the proposed new commercial zoning. And we also will be likely looking at a comprehensive plan amendment, potentially a sub-area plan. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that 2021 will be a busy year. And we'll do a workshop in December to talk in more detail about those projects moving forward. So Zach, do you have updates you'd like to provide the Plan Commission?
Nope, I think you covered it. We got a lot of stuff going on. It'll be good to get another commission member in here when we can. And I think we have a couple of, good applicants already, but the more the merrier. So thanks, guys. Good job tonight.
And Zach is being very humble. He is working on our very own zoning layer. So we'll be able to produce our own zoning here and be able to have that available as part of our total zoning and public works infrastructure mapping that we'll have available to the public online. So
nice.
It's coming along. Sorry, Kevin. It's coming along.
Yeah, Kevin got kicked out of order because we need a zoning map.
I'll tell you what, having you, Heather, and Zach, you guys are amazing, the work you're getting done.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great teamwork with everybody. Everybody has great ideas, and it's really nice to help them move forward.
Nice.
And Mark, I couldn't agree more. I think the planning department is really just doing a great job, is just kicking butt. And you guys are all doing great too. So thanks for all your dedication and your hard work and being here after 9 o'clock at night.
Thank you, Kevin.
Oh, thank you very much. So my commitment is the end of our staff report is we'll make your agenda way lighter on December, and perhaps we can have a little more socialization time maybe in December at the meeting.
Nice.
Oh,
So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Absolutely.
Hey, this is Cal. Thank you, Shane, for taking over tonight.
No problem. I guess.
I know you had to rush, but thank you very much.
Oh no, I got home like 1 minute before the meeting started. So.
You did real well.
You did me a solid, John. Thank you.
Hey, well, it got me home on time. I've been working past 8 all week, so it was nice to get home at 6 when I'm supposed to.
Nice.
Well, thank you very much. You moved into it very smoothly, but unfortunately you didn't really get to come home because you're still working at 9 o'clock at night.
That's all right. That's all right. So I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting then at 9:03.
Excellent.
I'll see you all next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanksgiving.
Safe
See
travel.
everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Stay safe.
Everybody too. Thank you.